Okay, so today we're going to talk about a concept called leapfrogging. And leapfrogging is what you're going to do if you're traveling over distance on a straight line bearing. And we talked yesterday about pointing our compass centered on our body out at an object and then placing the needle in the doghouse to give us a travel bearing, which is at the top of our compass. So we know that as long as we don't move left or right and the needle doesn't leave the doghouse, that we are traveling in a straight line. But what we don't want to do is, if that object is a long ways away, we don't want to sidestep and move around like this while we're walking and try to look down at our compass and not look at where we're going and not pay attention to what we're doing. What we'd really like to do is be able to put this compass down, but we still have to make sure that we're maintaining that straight line heading. So what do? What we do is we find an object in the distance that is in the same line of travel that we're not going to lose sight of, that we can travel to. So let's say, I'm going to lift this camera up a little bit. Let's say we're standing on high ground and there's a valley in between us and we're heading for that row of pines up there, that island of pine trees. So we've set our compass on a bearing for those pine trees. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some object that's in the same exact line that we're not going to lose sight of. So we're going to aim down our compass and look at, let's say, those two poplar trees off in the distance that are standing side by side. And I know those are poplars from here, and you'll know that as we get further into it too, but I can tell that they're poplars by the bark, by the branches, and by the crown, and also by how tall they are compared to the surrounding trees. I know those are poplar trees. So, that being said, I'm going to make sure that those poplar trees are in the same line of travel that I want to go anyway. And then instead of bouncing around with my compass, I can put my compass away. I can walk to the poplar trees. Then I can back up against the poplar trees again and find another object between me and there that's on that same line of travel. I don't move my compass at all. What I do is I manipulate myself at those trees until the needle's in the doghouse again, and then I find another object in that same line of travel that I'm not going to lose sight of. Then I can put my compass away again, and I can start walking until I get to the pines, even if I lose sight of them. And this is a short example. I probably wouldn't lose sight of those pines walking that distance. It's only probably 300 yards from here. But if it were a K and I were on top of a hill, looking at a saddle, looking at a hilltop, something like that, I would very likely lose sight of that object. And leapfrogging is the way that you circumvent having to watch your compass the whole time that you're trying to walk to make sure that that needle's not leaving the doghouse. You find objects that are in that direct line of sight that you're not going to lose sight of in that travel bearing. You walk to each of those objects, and then you line up the next object without moving anything on the compass, just moving your body to ensure that you're in the same travel direction on the same travel bearing. It's a pretty simple concept. Leapfrogging.